Imagine this, a hushed airport terminal, where the usual noise just fades and the air feels heavy.
Yeah, thick with something unspoken. Grief, maybe?
Exactly. And into this space walks a military escort. This man, dedicated to duty, standing incredibly tall, uniform perfect, medals lined up just so. Beside him, a flag-draped casket, a fallen soldier, young life cut short.
Such a solemn duty.
And then the gate agent, behind the usual counter, looks him right in the eye and just says, no,
Wow.
no, you cannot board this flight. It's a moment that just hits you in the gut, doesn't it? This profound, almost surreal clash. Duty, dignity, and then just cold bureaucratic protocol.
It really is. And that image, it evokes this deep, immediate sense of, well, injustice. What's really striking, though, is that this wasn't like a one-off thing.
Right.
Our deep dive today is looking at multiple, remarkably similar accounts, different details, sure, but all centered on this exact heartbreaking conflict. Military escorts denied flights while trying to bring fallen comrades home.
That's exactly where we're headed. Our mission today, it's more than just retelling these powerful stories. We want to unpack how these seemingly isolated moments, these quiet acts of resistance, can ignite this huge public outcry.
And lead to real change, right? Big policy changes.
Absolutely. And how they reveal this quiet power, the power of principle in an age that's just so noisy.
Yeah.
We want to get at the why behind it all and the ripples it created. So yeah, settle in. This is about dignity, duty, and just refusing to move.
It does raise a critical question, though, doesn't it? How can one denial, one bureaucratic slip-up, cause such widespread, impactful change?
Yeah, how does that happen?
Well, I think it's often because these incidents, they tap into these really deeply held values we have as a society. They expose this disconnect that people immediately see as fundamentally wrong. It's not just about breaking a rule, it feels like a moral violation.
That idea of dignity denied, that really gets to the heart of it. Think about the core injustice. You have military personnel, people who put their lives on the line,
Right.
now performing this incredibly sacred duty, bringing a comrade, someone's son or daughter, home with honor, with the respect they deserve.
It's the final act of service, really.
And then they're barred because of what? Policy glitches, system errors, or just overbooked flights. It's this mind-boggling contradiction, isn't it? The airline can take the casket, the cargo.
But not the person, the escort.
Exactly. Not the dedicated human being representing that final, profound connection.
That's precisely the point. And what's fascinating is how these policies may be designed for efficiency or security. They accidentally become this barrier to something much more fundamental, human dignity, the respect we owe. And that creates this immediate, visceral reaction from the public because it feels like it violates this unwritten social contract, how we expect our fallen soldiers to be treated. The system just fails at a basic human level.
And we saw this play out so starkly in our first incident. Major Elias Monroe and Private Benjamin Clark. This story comes from Hardtails. Picture Prairie Ridge Regional Airport. Not some huge international hub. Small, quiet. Probably got that fluorescent hum. Maybe smells faintly of vending machine coffee.
Yeah.
You know the type.
Yeah, I can picture it. A very unassuming place for something so heavy.
Right. And into this steps Major Elias Monroe. His expression, unreadable. Not cold, but just focused. His boots hit the floor with this crisp, measured rhythm, a rhythm honed over 2 decades of service, combat zones, ceremonies.
A lifetime of discipline in that walk.
Tall guy, immaculate uniform. He's got this black folder, Department of Defense seal, and his core promise, the thing that drives him. No one comes home alone.
Wow.
Today, it's for Private Benjamin Clark, 20 years old, killed overseas, waiting in a casket behind him, relying on that promise.
In that setting, the small, quiet terminal, it almost magnifies everything, doesn't it? Fewer distractions, the confrontation becomes unavoidable, everyone sees it.
So Monroe goes up to the check-in counter, calm, direct, composed. He tells Anna, the agent, he's escorting Private Clark on Flight 417 to Des Moines. Mentions the remains are already in cargo.
Okay, seems straightforward.
Anna blinks. Her, customer service smile falters. She looks at the DOD papers, the official authorization, right? Details, clearance. But her face stiffens. She can't find it in the system.
Uh-oh. The system strikes again.
Elias calmly points her to the Joint Command clearance on page 3. But she's just staring at the screen, looking increasingly uneasy. Says she needs her supervisor.
And this is where the wall goes up. It's often not malice from the agent, like Anna, but the system itself is just too rigid. It's not built for this sacred, the extraordinary. The system becomes the point, not the facilitator.
Exactly that. 15 minutes pass. Alan Kelly, the shift supervisor, shows up. Ted expression, kind of irritated looking. Dismissive vibe.
Not a good start.
He puts out a hand to shake. Monroe doesn't take it. Kelly just waves away the DOD papers. Claims updated protocols need an additional clearance layer. DHS approval through Federal Transport page 5, he says vaguely.
Just bureaucratic jargon, basically.
Monroe's response, flat. No emotion, but heavy with command experience. I'm not requesting, I'm assigned. You're succeeding anyway.
Oof. You're succeeding anyway. That's powerful.
In being difficult. Oh, that calm defiance, that line just cuts through all the corporate speak without him raising his voice at all.
It really does. It puts the absurdity right back on Kelly and his system, doesn't it? No hiding behind procedures. Monroe's stillness forces them to face what they're doing.
And that's when people start noticing. Other passengers. The quiet tension draws them in. A broad-shouldered guy, maybe late 50s, Marine t-shirt, walks up. Ray.
Okay, a witness steps in.
Elias tells him quietly. Just an escort being denied access to his fallen soldier's flight. Ray's eyebrows shoot up. Kelly tries to defend. It's not disrespect. System requirements.
Predictable defense.
But Ray just growls back, low and dangerous. That man's wearing the same flag your ticket scanner's built under.
Yeah.
And you're talking compliance.
And that's the spark, isn't it? The moment a third party, someone with that shared understanding, reframes it. It's not just an airline issue now. It's a moral failure, plain and simple.
And then, whoosh, it just ignites. Anna, the agent, she looks distressed, whispers something to Kelly. Then, incredibly, she actually apologizes to Elias.
Wow, she broke ranks.
And pulls out her phone, starts recording. Then, get this, a woman near the window who saw everything. She starts a live stream. The title. They're denying a black veteran the right to escort his brother in arms.
Oh, direct and powerful.
Views just explode. 500, then 20,000. By 9:12 a.m., it's 2 million. Hashtags flying. Hashtag Lethem. Hashtag Honor the Fallen. Hashtag Goldust Escort Night. Climbing the trend boards like crazy. Vets, journalists, everyone weighing in. Outrage everywhere.
That's the power of social media right there, especially live streaming. It bypasses everything, makes it immediate national. The public becomes the witness, the amplifier, shaping the narrative in real time. That outrage feels so organic.
And through all this chaos, Elias Monroe, unwavering, voice calm, firm. He tells Kelly, I'm not leaving. I've carried soldiers bleeding through airlifts while mortars hit the runway. I'm not backing down because your system glitched. Private Clark comes home with me. That's the only way this ends. It's that calm, immovable resolve. He's not angry, not looking for attention. He's just there, an anchor. Because someone has to be the one who doesn't move. Quiet, unyielding duty personified.
His stillness, his refusal to engage on their terms becomes this incredibly powerful protest. He doesn't need to shout. His presence says it all. It's like the most disruptive thing you can do sometimes is just refuse to participate in the absurdity, be immovable. And that, as we'll see, becomes a kind of blueprint.
Absolutely. His presence was the argument. Now, let's shift to a similar scene. Second incident. Colonel David Carter and Private First Class Jason Reynolds. This is from Black Thread. Colonel Carter, decorated Army colonel, in a bustling airport this time.
Okay, so a different environment, more chaos.
Right. The heavy weight of his uniform, a reminder of PFC Jason Reynolds, 21 years old, waiting in that casket on the tarmac.
The contrast with Monroe's quiet airport is stark. But the core conflict, the indignity, it highlights this is systemic, right? Not just one airline's mistake.
Exactly. Yeah. So Carter approaches the counter, hopes it'll be smooth. The agent barely looks up, then hesitates. Sir, can I see that again? Uncertainty. Glances at a coworker. Forced smile. That hesitation is always the first sign, isn't it? I'm sorry, sir. There seems to be an issue with your ticket. We can't allow you to board. Vague talk of security protocol. Carter, calm but with that edge of steel, says, I'm escorting Private First Class Jason Reynolds. Everything is in order.
He's not backing down.
Supervisor steps in quickly. Smooth talk. Extra security measure, nothing personal. Generic excuses. Almost insulting.
And what's crucial here is Carter's pushback. He doesn't just accept the jargon. He insists on honesty. I know the procedure. No policy stopping me, so let's be honest. What's the real reason?
Yeah, he wants the truth.
That persistence is key. Refusing to be placated. He forces them to either give a real reason or admit they don't have one, confront the issue head on.
And just like with Monroe, the public outcry is immediate. An older Marine in line sees it, intervenes, voice thick with emotion. Never seen protocol stop a soldier escorting one of our own home.
Another powerful moment of witness intervention.
Then a young woman, maybe unsure at first, but Indignant, pulls out her phone, starts a live stream. "People need to see this," she murmurs. The airline loses control of the narrative instantly.
Social media again, spreading like wildfire.
Hashtag let them fly everywhere. Major news outlet runs the headline. U.S. Army colonel denied flight while escorting fallen soldier. Airline scrambles for answers. Blunt. Damning.
That speed, that headline, it shows how fast the public judges these things. It's not a procedural misalignment to them. It's a direct affront, a test of respect.
And this one has this really dramatic intervention. Major Thomas Beckett from the Department of the Army just appears, cuts through the excuses.
Really? Like right there at the gate.
Yeah. Firm voice, full authority. "We are handling this now. Colonel Carter and the remains of Private First Class Reynolds will not be flying commercial. The Pentagon has arranged for a private military flight."
Wow. That's a huge statement, the Pentagon stepping in directly.
Unequivocal. A powerful commitment from the highest levels.
That's the ultimate repudiation of the airline, isn't it? A public declaration. The military will ensure dignity, even if commercial carriers fail. It sent a massive message to all airlines about how serious this duty is. Non-negotiable. It completely bypassed their solutions.
Okay, let's look at the third incident. This one has a really deep personal connection. Staff Sergeant Daniel Carter and Private First Class Ethan James Reed from Heartfelt Tales of Loyalty, Dallas-Fort Worth Airport.
Okay.
Staff Sergeant Carter is escorting PFC. Ethan James Reed, 19 years old, died in Afghanistan. What's profound here is Daniel volunteered specifically for this. He'd done it once before, but Ethan was under his command.
Oh, wow. That adds a whole other layer.
He'd made a personal vow to Ethan's family. Bring their son home.
Wow.
Not just duty, a sacred personal obligation.
That personal stake makes it even more poignant, doesn't it? The weight on him must have been immense. It's about a promise.
He goes to the gate. Agent Megan, Supervisor Richard, their excuse. Flight's overbooked.
Overbooked, seriously?
Yeah. They offer him a later flight, 3:30 p.m. And, get this, a travel voucher for his trouble.
A voucher? That's incredibly tone-deaf. Insulting, really.
Daniel's refusal is immediate. Firm. Quiet intensity. "This isn't a vacation. I'm not leaving that plane without being on it." He repeats his promise. "I gave my word to his family."
Offering a voucher just shows how fundamentally they misunderstood or maybe trivialized his mission. Applying a transactional fix to something sacred, it really highlights a corporate culture problem.
But then, amidst this absurdity, something truly beautiful happens. The kindness of strangers. Other passengers seeing this unfold. An Army vet named Tom, he steps up, offers his seat. Voice full of conviction. "If they need a seat, they can have mine. I know what this means. You need to be on that plane."
That's incredible.
And others follow. Moved by Tom, by Daniel's quiet resolve, they offer their seats too. It's this spontaneous wave of human compassion, just cutting through the bureaucratic nonsense. Shared values in action.
That shifts it, doesn't it? From just public outrage online to collective action right there. People willing to sacrifice their own plans to uphold the dignity the airline failed to provide. It's the best of humanity against institutional indifference.
The airline, clearly embarrassed now, facing this passenger uprising, they suddenly find him a seat, first class, which he never asked for.
Trying to smooth it over.
And the captain apologizes when he boards. So, okay, resolution found. But Daniel reflects later. He'd brought Ethan home, but the cost, the bureaucracy, the indifference, the fight, left a mark.
Yeah, it's not just about the outcome. It's the burden of having to fight for basic respect, for the sacredness of a life against a system seeing only seat numbers. That stays with you.
Indeed. These three incidents, across these powerful stories, they really show the ripple effect goes way beyond the airport gate. They highlight how one person's stand, amplified by the public, can force these huge systemic reactions.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that amplification. Ordinary people capturing these moments, using social media, Facebook, X, live streaming. The speed is just astonishing. A local issue becomes national in minutes.
It's a total game changer. And the narrative shifts instantly, right? The airlines talk of policy and protocol.
Yeah, that gets reframed almost viciously by the public as disrespect, indifference, even desecration. And it's not just online noise. It forces corporate reactions because their reputation, their trust, their bottom line is suddenly at risk. The power shifts to the collective voice.
And it becomes a shared experience too, doesn't it? Veterans groups, the general public, everyone engages. It feels like our story, tapping into this collective idea of honoring soldiers.
Precisely. It hits a collective conscience, something fundamental about national identity and respect for service. When that's violated so publicly, the response is swift, unified. It exposes this value gap society just won't tolerate.
And the corporate fallout was intense. Skyfront Express, Monroe's airline. Full crisis mode. The regional director, Lisa Quinn, scrambles, puts out this statement calling it procedural misalignment.
Oh, that corporate speak. So tone-deaf.
The internet just shredded it. Mocked the lack of empathy, the missing apology.
That kind of statement just adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it? Reinforces the perception of corporate detachment. It led directly to serious consequences because they tried to depersonalize it.
And the consequences were brutal. Military contracts, huge money frozen instantly. Airline partners suspended joint promotions, didn't want to be associated. Customer support lines jammed, not with bookings, but people saying, "I stand with Major Monroe."
Wow.
Ellen Kelly, the supervisor, resigned quickly, probably forced out. Lisa Quinn, reassigned, no more public-facing role. But the ultimate repudiation, the Pentagon arranges a C-130 military transport jet with full honors as a direct public correction, bypassing Skyfront completely for future escorts.
That C-130 intervention, that's the ultimate signal of condemnation. The military saying publicly, "We'll handle the honor regardless of your failures." A chilling message to all carriers. Fail this duty, face severe repercussions, lose trust, lose business.
Colonel Carter's airline faced similar behavior. Stock dropped. Boycott hashtags trended globally. Huge customer pressure. And the final blow? A lawsuit from military advocacy groups. Discrimination, dereliction of duty.
The lawsuit is critical. It moves from public outcry to direct legal and financial accountability. Forces airlines to rethink protocols fundamentally beyond just PR. This wasn't just bad press. It was a legal and ethical failure.
The CEO had to apologize publicly, put employees on leave. But yeah, like you said, too little, too late. The damage was done.
Definitely.
Staff Sergeant Daniel Carter's airline also apologized, committed to reviewing policies. They even offered him compensation.
And did he take it?
No. He declined it. Which really highlights that for him, for people in his position, it was never about personal gain or a free flight or a voucher. It was always about respect, dignity, fulfilling that sacred promise.
That refusal is so important. It underscores the moral core of these incidents. It wasn't transactional for Daniel. It was about Ethan, about honor. And that resonates deeply, further shaming the attempt to make it just a commercial issue.
So these incidents, especially Monroe's stand, spark something bigger, systemic. The birth of legislation, the Monroe Act.
Ah, yes, the legislative response.
Dolores Nash, head of the National Veterans Council, seasoned advocate, seen it all. But she said nothing had rattled her like watching that man, quiet, composed, steady, refuse the right to carry a coffin that never should have traveled alone. That image, his presence, it spurred her to action.
That's a powerful moment of inspiration, one person's integrity moving others to seek a systemic solution beyond just the immediate crisis. Monroe's Stillness became a catalyst.
She got her team together. We're drafting a policy proposal, maybe name it after him. They brought in Leah Kim, a sharp legislative assistant. They even sought Monroe's input.
And what did he say?
He mostly deferred, just wanted them to get it right, not seeking the spotlight. Wanted the law to be effective, preventative.
His continued refusal of the spotlight reinforces his whole identity, doesn't it? His power was in his actions, his principle, not fame. That authenticity gave the legislation huge moral weight, hard to oppose.
And the act itself, remarkably simple, clear, just 11 pages. It laid out guaranteed boarding rights for military escorts with valid DOD orders, period.
Cuts right to the chase.
Mandated comprehensive training for airline staff. No more I didn't know. Established a clear fine system for violations, real teeth, and, crucially, a publicly searchable compliance record for airlines. Transparency and accountability.
That simplicity is its strength, directly addresses the core issues. Dignity, duty, respect. Didn't overcomplicate, it just made a moral imperative a legal obligation.
Senator Lorraine Mitchell, former Navy officer, championed it passionately. The hearings were packed. Vets, Gold Star families, those who lost someone in service, active duty members. All there to witness.
A powerful showing of support.
And in the back row, silent, still, Elias Monroe. The testimonies were incredibly moving. Private Clark's mother, shaking, holding his photo. He brought my son home. When the world told him no, he stayed.
Heartbreaking.
Ray the Marine. That terminal, it was quiet until he said no. That's when the real noise started. And Anna, the whistleblower clerk. I saw someone worth standing next to, and I've been trying to stay beside him ever since.
Those testimonies are crucial. They put a human face on the policy, showed the personal cost of bureaucratic failure, the meaning of Monroe's stance, turned abstract policy into personal stories of loss, honor, courage.
And when Senator Mitchell asked Monroe if he wanted to speak,
What did he do?
a simple, clear, "No, ma'am." The room just erupted in applause. Not for words, but for the silence, the power in not needing to speak. He explained later, "If I speak now, they'll say it's for attention. But if I stay silent, they have to speak for themselves. The truth will speak through them."
His silence there may be his most powerful statement. Forced reflection, accountability, underscored his pure motive, principle over person.
Despite some last-minute smears calling it virtue signaling, government overreached. The Monroe Act passed overwhelmingly, 72-23, became standard federal law, dignity ensured for future escorts.
It's fascinating how even something so clearly right faces political resistance, but that overwhelming support shows some principles, anchored by stories like these, can transcend divides. A victory for principle over partisanship.
So the act passes. The world shifts. But Monroe's quiet impact keeps rippling out. He actively refuses the spotlight, just disappears from public view.
Goes back home.
Back to his quiet Arkansas home. Declines all media, CNN, Washington Post, even Oprah. Didn't want to be a symbol. Wanted his actions to speak.
That refusal of celebrity is key to his legacy. Reinforces his actions were about duty, principle, not recognition. That authenticity, paradoxically, makes his impact more profound, more enduring. His motives were clearly pure.
The only exception he made, a handwritten letter from a 10-year-old girl, Aria. Her dad was also a soldier. That simple letter, it touched him deeply, became his most treasured possession, framed beside a folded flag, a quiet source of pride, inspiration.
That's beautiful.
Years later, Aria returns, now a trauma counselor. She gives Monroe this hand-bound journal titled Witness, filled with anonymous notes from strangers impacted by his story.
The Witness Journal. That's deeply symbolic. It's a collective acknowledgement, isn't it? How his act resonated, reflected people's own struggles, grief, hopes, transforms his single act into this communal narrative of resilience, honor, quiet solidarity, the ripple effect made tangible.
We also see his own journey to closure. He visits his best friend Jonathan Luring's grave, acknowledges he couldn't bring him home years ago, but finds solace knowing his stand helped bring others home with dignity.
Finding peace in that difference he made.
And then just a simple note, slipped to him in a diner, reads only, "You didn't let him go." He adds these things, these quiet affirmations, to his cedar box, a repository of his life's burdens and quiet triumphs.
That journey to the grave, the note, they reveal the personal burden, the grief, but also the quiet redemption he found. Knowing his actions mattered, helped others avoid that anguish, a powerful internal peace.
And from Monroe's quiet acts, this blueprint emerged. A new kind of protest, civic engagement, the Monroe Method.
Ah, yes, making it a strategy.
The National Veterans Council launched it, a strategy of silent, dignified presence, not shouting, not confrontation, just being there to effect change.
This is where the individual story becomes repeatable, teachable. The Monroe Method shows power can lie in strategic inaction, refusing unproductive noise, forces others to confront the issue on terms of conscience, presence, not a shouting match.
And we see examples everywhere. Veterans sitting silently outside city halls during budget meetings. Their presence alone makes mayors listen.
Compelling action through quiet presence.
Students at a Kentucky high school standing silently by a memorial wall. No words. But their unified, quiet presence reverses a principal's offensive decision. A VA hospital nurse reading from Aria's witness journal in therapy, helping veterans feel seen, understood, less alone through those raw stories.
Using that collective narrative for healing.
And history teachers using the Monroe Doctrine, the Act, to teach civic engagement, that resistance doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it just has to not leave.
Each example shows the adaptability, the effectiveness. Leveraging presence, not volume, creates undeniable moral pressure. Teaches that quiet resolve can be the most potent force. Just show up and be.
And Anna, the airline clerk from the first incident, she comes back years later, finds Elias, thanks him, not just for the act, but for how it changed her life.
Wow, a full circle moment.
She brings him a framed photo she secretly took that day, that silent snapshot of his presence, with a quote, "Honor isn't given, it's carried, sometimes through silence." A testament to the impact one person's integrity can have.
Anna's return really shows that personal impact. She wasn't just a witness, she was transformed. The ripples were societal, political, but also deeply personal, inspiring integrity, courage, a vindication of his quiet stand.
Then there's the bench. The Monroe seat, Simple cedar bench, town square, no plaques, no fanfare. But people just started sitting there, in
A
stillness.
quiet revolution indeed. A physical manifestation of his philosophy.
It invites participation, not just observation. Creates a space for contemplation, witness, connection in a loud world. A silent invitation to presence.
It started with a kid, right?
Yeah, a 10-year-old boy, Jordan, later called Noah. His dad died a year earlier. At the school Veterans Day assembly, asked to speak about his dad, he just walks at the center of the gym floor and sits down.
Silently.
Just sits down, yeah. When asked why, he says, clear as a bell, because he didn't get to come home. But I'm still here, so I'll wait until someone notices. That moment, echoing Monroe's stillness, went viral.
Yeah.
Touched everyone.
That's incredibly powerful. A child embodying the principle shows the intergenerational impact, inspiring others to join this quiet community of stillness, spontaneous, organic proof that the lesson is timeless.
And Noah's presence on the bench drew others, sitting in quiet solidarity. A circle of witnesses learning to listen to the silence, too. Soon, more Monroe benches pop up, college campuses, VA clinics, parks, each with a witness notebook.
It's amazing.
Becoming this new form of honest, handwritten, raw, unfiltered storytelling. Shared grief, resilience, quiet strength.
A beautiful evolution of his legacy. Genuine connection outside the noise of digital platforms. Quiet, profound, collective healing and remembrance.
Towards the end, Monroe, frail but sharp, shares final lessons. Rare speech to high schoolers. Sometimes the loudest voice is the one that stays, that waits, that doesn't let go. Don't forget how to sit down when something matters.
Simple, profound advice.
Final appearance, Dallas Assembly. Soft voice, deep conviction. You don't have to wear a uniform to serve. You don't even have to speak to be heard. You just have to stay when it matters. Demystifying heroism, making it accessible.
So moving, democratizing service, impact, making it about everyone regardless of status, distilling his life message. Strength lies in unwavering, quiet presence.
He passes the torch, gives Leah Kim, the legislative assistant, his cedar box, the memories, instructions for the next one. His legacy will continue.
Ensuring it lives on.
And then Elias Monroe passes quietly, leaves a small wooden plaque. Honor lives in how we carry the silence. In just one carved word, Monroe. The town gathers. Not for a funeral, for a day of collective silence, benches, notebooks, his story told not in chapters but in moments, not in headlines but in hearts.
That final act of stillness, the collective silence, perfectly encapsulates his legacy. Impact wasn't grand gestures, but fostering presence, dignity, quiet resolve. Stillness is an absence, it's the loudest answer. Profound.
Which brings us back, doesn't it, to our mission for this deep dive. These stories, so detailed, so powerful, they just illustrate the impact of individual conviction against that systemic inertia. It wasn't just fighting a rule, it was standing for principle, dignity, that sacred bond of service.
Indeed. These accounts vividly show that sometimes the most powerful statement isn't the shout, the demand, the protest banners. It's that quiet, unyielding refusal to move, the commitment to presence. The sheer, unshakable dignity of duty that cuts through bureaucracy, changes laws, changes hearts.
So as you, our listener, reflect on these stories, maybe consider this. In a world pushing for noise, speed, reaction, what are the moments in your life where maybe stillness isn't absence, it's the loudest answer? What does it mean for you to carry the silence for something that truly matters? Something you believe in so much you just refuse to let it go?